Just last year, terrorism attacks reached an all-time high. According to PRNewsWire.com, in 2015, deaths from terrorism increased 80%, which is the highest level ever. This is alarming to say the least, and it's unreal that we are all alive in this time of mass terrorism. But we have been living through it for quite some time now. The horrifying attacks that took place on September 11th, 2001, happened when I was just a fifth grader in elementary school. It was scary because a lot of us didn't understand why someone would want to hurt people they didn't even know, and we really didn't understand all the politics around the attack yet. One of the biggest questions stuck in people's minds was how could this have been prevented, and if there was a way that this could have been stopped. If there had only been a company so large back then that had the resources to track down the people responsible for those lives before the event took place. We could have tried to stop it, but, back then we did have Apple, but it wasn't as big as it is today. People didn't really have smartphones yet, and not many people use the web to communicate as much as they do now. Today, many people have Apple products, and almost every single person uses a smartphone to communicate with others. But should Apple be able to release terrorist cell phone data to the FBI? I say yes. There are countless terrorists all over the US and around the world that are currently planning their next attacks as we speak. It is very frightening because here in California, we have many hotspots that are subject to terrorism, including the many famous amusement parks like Disneyland, California Adventure, Legoland, SeaWorld, international airports like LAX, and the many power plants that line our coast. We need better ways to put a stop to these attacks, and the solution is out there. Many terrorists, believe it or not, do use smartphones to communicate. One would think that if you were planning such horrible events, they would not leak the information over the phone or internet. But the internet is the one thing that is making all these recent attacks possible. Smartphones allow all the planning to become much easier because people from all over the world can be connected at the same time. A company like Apple has the power to monitor calls and track down data so we can save lives. So I think Apple should be allowed to scan for terrorist information and hand it over to the authorities. When thinking about a plan of how this data monitoring would take place or work, I think whoever is suspected of terrorism should be basically tapped or have their data looked over. I am having a hard time thinking that this isn't already happening because you hear about it on the news and shows, but if it's not happening, it needs to be. If anyone is even suspected of being connected with terrorism in any way or supporting it, that person should lose their right to privacy and their data should be turned over to the FBI. I think anyone who thinks that they have a right to hurt anyone else for their own satisfaction lose their right to privacy and should be brought to justice. Many people think that there are downsides to a company as big as Apple having access to everyone's information. Apple not only has iPhones, but many people have their laptops, use their software, and their tablets. Basically, I would say 9 out of 10 people in the US use Apple products. I have to say, if someone was monitoring my private messages, I would be upset, but I am not a terrorist and I am not a threat to the safety of others. I understand many people think it is a violation of our basic rights as Americans or human beings to be spied on like that, but if you aren't a person who is trying to harm others, you really have nothing to worry about. If people can understand the bigger picture on the subject of Apple being able to release terrorist cell phone data to the FBI, which is saving lives, I know that this subject can be put at rest. To me, someone's life is more important than one's privacy. Sharing terrorist cell phones data can help locate terrorist leaders and bring them to justice. It can help locate even small terrorist leaders trying to hurt or kill others any way they can, and it can save countless lives. I wouldn't be smart not to use the data from Apple to our advantage. Um, we are all citizens of the world and we all need to look out for each other. We need to take advantage of the fact that we have access to terrorist data like this and put it to good use. And hopefully we can stop terrorism altogether in the near future.